of course, what we're seeing is the number of people that are using the Red River Clinic has actually gone up since the Dobbs decision, as we see, people who are having to travel long distances, women that are having to go a long, long way to get access to the abortion care that they need. So I'm glad to be able to be there with them and hear their stories.
Welcome back to Afternoons Live. It's rolling on a Thursday afternoon. Hope it's treating well wherever you got us locked in on KFGO. And I'm excited to have my next guest with us, Tina Smith, Senator, the great state of Minnesota, in the area for a variety of events. And I appreciate you taking some time to swing on by. How you been?
Just fine, Tyler. Thanks for having me over. And it's great to be able to spend some time here.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. I've had the luxury of having you on the show before, but never had a chance to actually be in the same room. So it's fun to actually be in your presence here and just talk about some of the things that have been going on. I know you're going to be in a lot of room with a lot of people. I know that the Red River Women's Clinic, well, they packed up and moved because of an anniversary that not everyone's celebrating in this area or nationally here. And one of those events is where you're going to be at today as well. So explain that to some of the listeners here.
So I'm going to have a chance to sit down and talk with some of the folks at the Red River Women's Clinic. It's interesting. I was here last August, just as they were moving from Fargo over to Moorhead, and I wanted to just be there to show support for them because the work that they're doing, the healthcare that they're providing is just so essential for people in this community. And of course, what we're seeing is the number of people that are using the Red River Clinic has actually gone up since the Dobbs decision, as we see, people who are having to travel long distances, women that are having to go a long, long way to get access to the abortion care that they need. So I'm glad to be able to be there with them and hear their stories.
Well, and I'm North Dakota born and raised, been in the North Dakota Senate before, and we were fighting this issue way back then. Mm-hmm. And we made that argument that if you go to the north central part of the state or northwest, that drive to now Moorhead is a long drive for a lot of people just to access this care. And for some parts across the country, it's gotten a lot longer because of this decision.
That's exactly right. We're seeing people that are traveling days and days, and a lot of women that are faced with a decision around abortion are already mothers. The effort that they have to make, the hardship that they have to go through to be able to figure out how to make that trip is really a big deal. And of course, sometimes when they're going through this, it's because they have a real health emergency that they are dealing with. And I think one of the things that's happened since the Dobbs decision and this the Supreme Court basically taking that decision-making power away from women and giving it to state legislatures is that we are seeing that there is an increasing struggle for women, especially in women who are going through a miscarriage, who are having a severe health crisis, who are not able to get the care that they need.
Right. I think it was a wake-up call politically as well for a lot of people because this was taken for granted, I'd say, and that's my term. For 50 years, this was, yep, it's here, it'll always be here. It's not anymore. And I think, and I'll attribute this, and I'll ask you, it seems as though that some of those justices during some of those Senate hearings, I think they lied. I'm curious if you agree with that sentiment, or were they misleading at the very least in their claims?
I have to tell you, there's a long tradition of justices saying that they are not going to opine as they're going through a confirmation process. They're not going to opine on specific issues. And okay, I get that. But to have those justices say that they believe in this principle of stare decisis, which basically says, I believe in supporting precedent, and then to have them turn around and undermine 50 years of precedent protecting women's reproductive rights it was stunning, even though it wasn't surprising.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. Not surprising knowing exactly what they were saying in front of the chamber and then what they did when they got on the bench. Senator Tina Smith is our guest, Minnesota U.S. Senator. You're on the Ag Committee as well, so you're here to support the Women's Clinic, but also you're doing roundtables. And you've been doing that. I know you got some bipartisan legislation I want to get into. Explain the Farm Bill here. I mean, we're looking at a deadline, both, I think, because of the actual expiration, but also election year gets in the way, and that's another soft deadline, I guess, when it comes to negotiations. Negotiations different this time around? There's a lot of new faces out in Washington, or is it kind of the same old song and dance as has been?
Well, it's going to be really interesting. The Farm Bill, we reauthorize the Farm Bill every 5 years. It is due up the end of September. There are a lot of new faces. This is the first time that we've written a farm bill in Congress without Colin Peterson for a very long time over on the House side.
Much more difficult to get done is what that's.
Much more difficult to get done. And so what I think is happening right now is on the Senate side, we've held a lot of hearings. We've had really good oversight and lots of folks coming in from around the country to tell us what they need to see in the farm bill. And then I've done, dozens of hearings and roundtables around the state. We're going to be down in Starbuck, Minnesota in a few hours talking to some ranchers about conservation issues, and that's going to be super interesting. I think the dynamic, though, to watch is the dynamic between the Senate and the House, because, and I'm just saying this because I'm a senator, but we're hanging together in a pretty good bipartisan way on the Senate side. And, my colleagues from North Dakota and South Dakota, Senator Klobuchar and I are both on the Ag Committee. We tend to agree more than we disagree on what we want to see get done. The problem and the issues are going to be on the House side, because what they're looking for is a much lower number. And I got to tell you, I've had so many farmers come in and say, oh, we need higher reference prices for the commodity program. We need more money for the dairy margin coverage program. But at the same time, those House members are saying we need to cut all of this. Yeah. So the numbers are not going to work out very well if we don't get that figured out.
Yeah, they've been coming so low in on everything, but this is one of those, bring up bipartisanship. It seems that agriculture is one of the few things, infrastructure and agriculture, about the two things that it seems that we can get the most bipartisan support. I'm glad to hear that. In the Senate, that seems to be the case, but that House is very unpredictable, and I'm putting it very mildly when I say that.
Yes, that's very diplomatic of you.
Yeah, I try. Most times you won't hear me be so diplomatic. Just ask listeners out here. The same battles go on with SNAP. Do you have to separate? Is that still going on? Have they put that to rest yet?
Well, we really need to put that to rest.
Yes.
The president and Leader McCarthy made some compromises on the SNAP program, and all in, I think that I was glad to support that compromise in order to come up with a framework for how we could get a budget done in 2023. Now we're seeing some of the House members walk away from that compromise. They never really supported it to begin with. But the thing to remember about the nutrition program is that it is 75% of the total spending of the Farm Bill, and it is the essential nutrition assistance that helps seniors and moms with kids and people who are living with disabilities to be able to have the food that they need. And it's something like $6.50 on average a day. Yeah. And so it's not like people are living high on the hog with these resources. So we cannot accept any more cuts to the nutrition program. And let's also remember that most people who receive nutrition assistance are working if they can.
I know. See, there are a few things that get me as worked up as the depiction brought on by some people that don't understand the program, that say, well, people just need to work harder or they're being lazy. And these are senior citizens. These are children that have no choice about what lot in life they are. It's hardworking mothers and fathers. So I'm glad you threw that out there. Speaking of children, I know you're a part of a bipartisan bill that you introduced about child care.
Yeah.
Universal problem. We're sitting on a border here in North Dakota and Minnesota. Both just had a legislative session. Both are different approaches, but it's not just an upper Midwest thing. It's universal. And something's got to get done, because it's also a workforce issue. It's something I've been trying to tell people that, helps the child, helps the family that wants to work to get back into the workforce too. So tell me about your bill.
Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right that this is it's an issue everywhere in the country. It is a particular issue in small towns and rural communities where there is even bigger shortage of childcare than in other places. What happened during the pandemic is a lot of those family providers, where people were having children come into their homes, a lot of those places went out of business because they just couldn't survive during the pandemic. So what we do, this bipartisan bill, could be part of the Farm Bill, which would be great. And it would say that some of the rural development money that we spend in the Farm Bill would be earmarked or kind of set aside to help communities establish child care programs in their communities, and in the way that works best for them. So in some communities in Minnesota, for example, you've got kind of a coalition of local businesses and nonprofits in the county saying, okay, we're going to build out this child care system. It's really working. The communities would be driving what we do, and I hope that we can get that done. We've got good bipartisan support for that.
Well, that's another thing that I like to hear about as well, just because it's not Republicans or Democrats that they're facing this challenge, and it's rural America, like you say, small towns. I'm from a town of 400 people. I remember going to the neighbor's house with about 4 other kids. That was our childcare then. It's not necessarily that easy these days. You got to have a little bit more financial skin in the game, I guess. And you know what? This is something I think most of us are willing to chip in.
Totally. And it's, childcare, if you have young kids, it is very, very expensive. And, we don't expect you to pay for, your third grade and for your kid, but that's what and the United States is unusual. There are almost every other major economy in the world has some sort of childcare program that helps families to afford this really important service.
Yeah, well, and we like to say that we're the leader of a lot of things, and it's tough to look in those mirrors sometimes and say, okay, why are we behind A, B, and C when it comes to something as vital as childcare here? Senator, I know you're busy. What I missed that you want to get on? Infrastructure has been a big success, bipartisan infrastructure bill. You're seeing I enjoy seeing the construction side saying funded by.
Yeah.
And seeing some of those. I know that some of your colleagues have gone out to ribbon cuttings that didn't exactly vote for the bill, but you being one that did, so you get to be at every ribbon cutting you can attend.
I have I'm delighted to be there. And just yesterday we celebrated the Minnesota getting $650 million to build out affordable broadband in rural communities across the state.
Vital.
I don't know what the number is in North Dakota, but I will tell you that every state got significant resources based on their need to finish the job of connecting every single American to to high-speed affordable internet service. It's exciting.
It's competitive. I mean, it's infrastructure is what it is now. I hope people finally got there, understanding that the world is online, and we have to have that just to be competitive against everybody else. So, Senator, anything I missed before I let you go? I know how busy you are.
Appreciate the conversation. Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming on. Let's do this again soon.